The ballroom shimmered with gold light and the soft sound of high-life music. Laughter floated above the clink of wine glasses. Women in glittering lace gowns swayed to the beat, their wrists heavy with bangles. Men in sharp agbatas slapped each other on the back, their voices loud and confident. On a long table near the dance floor, the wedding gifts were lined up like a display in a luxury store. Designer handbags with shiny buckles, gold jewelry in velvet boxes, and thick white envelopes stuffed with cash. The doors opened, and Amara Okafor stepped inside. She wore a modest Ankara dress, neatly pressed but far simpler than the silk and sequins around. In her hands, she carried a woven basket wrapped in clear cellophane. Inside, nestled on straw, were bottles of palm oil, rich golden red, catching the light. She smiled politely at the ushers and walked toward the gift table. As she passed, two of the bride's friends leaned close, their eyes flicking to the basket. One smirked. The other didn't bother to lower her voice. Palm oil? At a wedding like this? Shame. A cousin nearby chuckled, loud enough for others to hear. Some people don't know what's proper for such occasions. Amara placed the basket gently on the table, her fingers lingering for a moment on the ribbon. Across the room, the bride Chinyu caught her eye. Her smile was wide but stiff, the kind of smile meant for strangers, not for childhood friends. Later, as Chinyu turned away with her maid of honor, she whispered, "Some people just don't know class." The words carried. Amara heard them. Her hand, still at her side, curled into a fist before she smoothed it against her dress. She said nothing. Her face remained calm, but something in her eyes hardened. When the music swelled again, she slipped quietly out of the hall. The night air was cool against her skin as she crossed the parking lot to a faded, dented Corolla. She slid into the driver's seat, started the engine, and pulled away from the glow of the wedding venue. At a red light, her phone buzzed on the passenger seat. She picked it up and glanced at the screen. A message from her operations manager lit up in bold letters. "Ma, export container arrived in Dubai on schedule." Her lips pressed into the hint of a smile. Then the light turned green, and she drove on. Amara was born in a small village in southeastern Nigeria, the first of 4 children. Her father was a proud palm farmer. He would wake before sunrise, his hands already smelling faintly of oil, and walk to the fields with a cutlass over his shoulder. Her mother sold vegetables in the market, saving every naira she could. Life was not easy, but there was love in their small mud brick home. When Amara was 17, her father died suddenly after a short illness. The loss hit the family like a storm. Her mother, already tired from years of hard work, was left to feed 4 children with almost nothing. Amara had just started university in Enugu, studying business, but she packed her things and came home. There was no one else to run the farm. In those early days, she worked from dawn to dusk. She learned how to harvest the ripe palm fruit, how to boil and press it, how to store the oil so it stayed fresh. She sat with older farmers, asking questions, memorizing their advice. She kept a notebook of every buyer's number, every market price. When middlemen tried to cheat her, she pushed back, her voice steady. It was not just the work that was hard, it was the shame people tried to throw at her. Some relatives laughed at her for leaving school to play with palm kernels. Others whispered that palm oil was for poor people, that she would never be successful smelling of it. She learned to let their words pass over her like wind through the trees. Over time, she began to think bigger. She read about organic farming and international export. She experimented with better planting techniques, cleaner processing, and eco-friendly packaging. She traveled to Lagos to meet exporters and fought through endless paperwork. Some officials hinted that things would move faster if she paid bribes, but she refused. Deals fell through. Shipments were delayed. Still, she kept going. 15 years later, the farm had grown beyond anything her father could have imagined. She owned Okafor Agro-Exports Group, one of the largest organic palm oil producers in West Africa. Her oil was used by high-end cosmetic brands in France and sold in gourmet stores in New York. She employed over 2,000 people, farmers, drivers, factory workers, and made sure they were paid well and treated with respect. Her life was comfortable, but not flashy. She still drove an old car and wore simple clothes. She avoided social media, believing that her work spoke for itself. Most people who met her in public would never guess that she signed million-dollar contracts. Chinyu had known her long before all that. They were childhood friends, running through the same dusty roads, plucking mangoes from trees, sharing meat pies after school. When Chinyu's father lost his job and her family struggled, Amara quietly paid her school fees for a year. She never told anyone, not even Chinyu, because it felt like the right thing to do, not something to brag about. But as they grew older, Chinyu's world began to change. She moved to the city, made new friends, and started chasing the kind of life filled with glamorous parties and expensive brands. Her calls to Amara became less frequent, her tone more distant. By the time Chinyu moved to the United States, they spoke only a few times a year. Even so, when Amara received an invitation to Chinyu's wedding in Houston, she decided to go. They had once been like sisters. She thought her presence might be a quiet way to show she still cared. She chose the best of her palm oil, cold-pressed, organic, bottled in glass, and arranged it in a basket with fresh raffia ribbon. To her, it was a gift rich with meaning, a piece of her life's work, something valuable and lasting. 2 days after the wedding, Amara was in her small Houston hotel room, sipping tea and answering work emails, when her younger brother, Keen, called from Nigeria. "Have you seen it?" he asked without greeting. "Seen what?" He sent a link to her phone. It was a post on a popular Nigerian gossip blog. The headline read, "Palm oil gift at society wedding. Embarrassing or cultural?" Underneath was a photo taken at the reception. The camera had caught her basket sitting among the shiny handbags and gold boxes. The comments were already in the hundreds. Some laughed and wrote things like, "Bush village habits will follow you anywhere." Others joked about whether she had brought a cooking pot too. A few people defended her, saying palm oil was part of culture, but they were drowned out by the mocking. Keen's voice was tight with anger. "This is rubbish, Amara. You have to tell them who you are. Tell them about the exports, the awards. Let them feel stupid." Amara closed her laptop slowly. "It's not worth it," she said. "They're dragging your name in front of the whole internet. They don't know my name. And even if they did, I don't need strangers to understand my value." Keen sighed heavily, but he knew when her mind was set. Later that day, her assistant forwarded an email from a potential foreign investor. They had been in talks for months about a multi-million-dollar expansion into the Middle East. The message was polite but pointed. "We came across a recent social media post about a wedding you attended. While we understand it may be cultural, we'd like to discuss whether your brand aligns with our target market's expectations." Amara read the lines twice. She knew what they were really asking, whether she could present herself in the polished, international way their clients want. It stung, not because she doubted herself, but because something so small and misinterpreted could cast such a long shadow. That evening, her phone rang again. This time it was Chinyu's mother. Her voice was soft, but her words were sharp. "My dear, next time, it is better to give cash like everyone else. That way people will respect you. These society people don't understand village thing." Amara listened without replying. When the call ended, she sat on the bed for a long time, her hands in her lap. She thought about the long years on the farm, the sleepless nights worrying over shipments, the faces of the workers whose families depended on her. She thought about how quickly people judged what they did not understand. The sting of humiliation was still there, but now it was mixed with something else, a quiet, rising resolve. Chinyu's wedding Thanksgiving lunch was in 3 days. She had planned to skip it, to keep her distance. But now she felt a pull to go. Not to argue, not to fight, but to be present, to look them all in the eye. She closed her phone and began to plan her week. This time, she would not leave early. The Thanksgiving lunch was held in the backyard of a large suburban house, with white tents and long tables covered in bright tablecloth. The smell of grilled fish and jollof rice filled the air. Laughter rose above the clink of plates, and the high-life music playing from speakers. Amara arrived quietly, wearing another simple Ankara dress. She carried no gift this time, just her small purse. A few heads turned when she walked in, and she caught the quick glances that passed between some guests. Near the drinks table, 2 of Chinyu's new in-laws whispered loudly enough for her to hear. "Ah, she came again. Let's hope she didn't bring more farm produce." The other laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. Chinyu spotted Amara from across the yard but quickly turned away, pretending to be busy with the caterer. Amara felt the distance like a cold wall between them. As she moved toward the buffet, she passed a group of women sitting under one of the tents. Chinyu's younger sister was at the center, talking with animated hands. "Can you imagine?" she was saying. "My brother-in-law thought he could make big money importing fancy cooking oil from Europe. Paid all the fees, signed the papers, and the shipment failed. Lost thousands. Next time he will listen to me and stick to champagne." The women laughed. Amara felt a flicker of irony. Luxury cooking oil. If only they knew that the product sitting in her warehouses was sold in Paris and Dubai for more than that European brand. She could replace his loss in a day if she wanted to. She walked away, unsure what to do with the thought. Should she say something and watch their smugness fade? Or would that only make her seem defensive? She had built her business without public applause. Why start now? Her phone buzzed in her purse. It was an email from the investor. The tone was sharper this time. "We need reassurance about your market positioning before we proceed. Can we schedule a video call this week?" Amara felt the weight of it. The deal could open doors to an entire region, but they were hesitating because of an online rumor. Her mind went back to the gossip blog, the mocking comments, the picture of her basket. Later that afternoon, she stepped aside to call her mother in the village. Her mother's voice was calm and warm. "Amara, my child, you know who you are. You don't need to explain yourself to every person who laughed. Dignity is in holding your head high, not in shouting your worth." When she hung up, Keen's message came in almost immediately. Dignity is also telling the truth. If you keep quiet, they'll keep thinking you are small. She sat alone for a while, watching the other guests. The sound of laughter and cutlery mixed with the bright music. The conflict churned in her chest, her mother's advice pulling one way, her brother's words pulling the other. Then it happened. Chinyu's aunt, a tall woman in a gold gelly, stood up to make a toast. She thanked everyone for coming, joked about the groom's dancing skills, and then, with a sly smile, said, "And maybe next time, our dear Amara will bring plantain too, so we can make a full village stew." The table around her erupted in laughter. Some slapped their knees. A few tried to hide their smiles, but the amusement spread quickly. Amara felt heat rise in her face. She could almost hear Keen's voice in her ear. "They'll keep thinking you are small." Her heart thudded, steady but strong. She knew she had reached the edge. Amara pushed her chair back slowly. The laughter around the table faded just enough for people to notice she was standing. She rested her hands lightly on the edge of the table, her voice calm but clear. "I think I should explain something," she began. "The palm oil I brought to the wedding, it is not the kind you find in the corner shop. It is cold-pressed, organic, and has won awards in Europe. It sells in Paris and New York for $45 a bottle." The sound of forks against plates stopped. A few guests shifted in their seats. She looked around the table, her eyes steady. "I own Okafor Agro-Exports Group," she continued. "We are one of the largest organic palm oil producers in West Africa. We employ over 2,000 people, farmers, drivers, factory staff, and we have partnerships with luxury brands around the world." Her tone did not rise, but every word landed firmly. "The bottles I brought were from my personal reserve batch. The same batch that was gifted to a European princess last month." The yard went quiet. The music from the speakers seemed suddenly too loud in the background. Some guests looked down at their plates, embarrassed. Others stared at her as if seeing her for the first time. From across the table, Chinyu's husband leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. "Wait," he said slowly. You supply to luxury brands? In Europe?" "Yes," she said simply. He nodded to himself, then looked directly at her. "We've been having issues with our import partners. I'd like to talk to you about a supply deal." "We could." Amara raised a hand gently, stopping him. A small, faint smile touched her lips. "I came here to celebrate your marriage," she said. "Not to save it." There was no malice in her tone, only finality. She sat back down, her posture straight, her expression composed. Around her, conversations started again in low voices, but the air had changed. The smirks were gone. The laughter was softer, uncertain. For the rest of the lunch, people approached her quietly, some to apologize, others to ask questions about her work. She answered politely, but kept her words brief. Inside, she felt no triumph, only a quiet relief that the truth was now in the open. 2 days after the Thanksgiving lunch, Amara sat in her hotel room with her laptop open. An email had arrived from the investor. "We admire how you handled yourself under public criticism. It showed strength and professionalism. We are ready to move forward with the partnership." Amara read the lines twice, then leaned back in her chair. The deal was worth millions, but more than that, it was proof that her calm had been the right choice. She sent a short reply confirming the agreement, her fingers light on the keyboard. That evening, her phone buzzed with a long message from Chinyu. The words were full of pauses and apologies. Chinyu admitted she had felt insecure, worried about how she appeared to her new in-law. She wrote about her shame for joining in the silence while others mocked Amara. "I let pride get in the way of friendship," the message read. "I am truly sorry." Amara read it slowly. She remembered their days as girls, running barefoot, sharing secrets under mango trees. She also remembered the coolness in Chinyu's smile at the wedding. She typed her reply carefully. "I accept your apology. But some friendships are better left as memories. I wish you happiness in your marriage." When she pressed send, there was no bitterness, only a quiet sense of release. A week later, she was back in Nigeria. She drove out to her hometown, the red earth road kicking up dust behind her car. The farm stretched wide under the sun, the palm trees heavy with fruit. Workers waved as she passed. In the small village square, she gathered the local farmers. A truck arrived carrying brand new equipment, harvesting tools, safety gear, and processing machines. She handed the keys to the leaders of the cooperative, telling them it was a gift to make their work easier. Then she announced something new, a scholarship fund for girls in the village. "No girl should have to leave school the way I did," she said. The crowd clapped, and some wiped away tears. That night, she stood outside, breathing in the warm air scented with palm fruit. The noise of the gossip blog, the whispers, the mockery, all of it felt far away. What remained was the sound of the trees rustling and the knowledge that her roots were deep. The sun was low in the sky, casting a warm golden light across the fields. Amara walked slowly between the rows of palm trees, her fingers brushing against the heavy bunches of ripe fruit. The air was rich with the earthy, sweet scent of the harvest. Each step took her deeper into the quiet rhythm of the farm, the rustle of leaves, the distant sound of workers laughing, the hum of the evening insects. She paused for a moment, tilting her head back to watch the sky fade from orange to deep purple. Her father's voice came to her then, clear in her memory, as if he were walking beside her. Palm oil is not just food, Amara. It is life, and life is nothing to be ashamed of. The words wrapped around her like a gentle embrace. She thought of how far she had come, from a 17-year-old girl with calloused hands and a grieving heart to a woman whose work reached across oceans. A small smile spread across her face. She did not need applause, or the approval of people who measured worth in handbags and envelopes. The land, the work, the lives her business touched, these were the things that mattered. The wind picked up slightly, carrying the scent of fresh fruit and the promise of tomorrow's harvest. She took a deep breath, feeling grounded, unshaken by the noise of the world. Then she walked on, her steps steady, the last light of the sun following her down the rows, her shadow stretching long and sure against the red earth. Hey besties, thanks for watching till the end. Amara was mocked for gifting palm oil at a wedding, not knowing it came from her farm empire supplying Paris and New York. She rose above the shame, closed a $1 million deal, and stayed true to herself. Like, share, comment, and subscribe for more gripping stories. See you in the next one. Bye.